It was a cold winter night in Metropolis. The city's streets sparkled with Christmas lights, and a massive crowd gathered in the main square, eagerly waiting for a special guest. High above, Superman soared through the sky, carrying a large Christmas tree. The crowd cheered as he gently landed and planted the tree, ready for the community to decorate it for the holiday season. As he planted the tree, the crowd cheered, but in the midst of all the cheers, he heard a scream of pain, a cry for help from someone in the crowd. Without hesitation, he dived down into the crowd and grabbed a little girl who was thin and pale. Superman realized that she was cold and starving. She had nowhere to go. She was homeless. Superman decided to take her to a doctor, where she could eat and be taken care of. This doctor was called Rebecca Mason. She had spent a major portion of her career taking care of the homeless and young orphans. She promised to take good care of the girl. Superman then thought that there could be many other individuals who are currently suffering the same fate as the kid. He grew up a farmer and thought that America as a whole always wasted a lot of excess crops and food. So he planned that what if instead of throwing away the grains that wasn't needed by farmers, he could instead collect them, package and transport them and share to the less fortunate who really needed the food. He approached Congress with this idea and convinced them to let him do it. He was met with some resistance, but his request was granted at the end of the day. Superman spent the next day gathering and packaging excess crops from farms across the United States. Early the next day, he started transporting the goods worldwide to the less fortunate. The first person he encountered was a Native American in the desert. He offered him a truckload of food crops and other grains. He told him to share it with everyone in his village, and he immediately moved on south towards Brazil. There, he spoke how Brazil seems to be a beautiful country from a distance, but the moment you approach it, you could immediately see the huge divide between the rich and the poor. He went to the favelas and dropped a container full of grain. The crowd there approached him and thanked him for his good deed. He immediately left for Europe and Asia. There he shared a lot of food to the masses, ensuring everyone had something to eat. While doing all of this, some of the civilians criticized and refused the food he offered them, but he wasn't derailed by their lack of trust. He continued sharing without any hesitation. He then moved to Africa. As he approached the people there, he realized that there was a stampede. Some wild animals could be seen charging towards the people dangerously. The stampede was caused by a wildfire. Superman, realizing the danger, immediately flew towards the animals, carrying them to places where they posed no danger, and then he used water from a nearby river to stop the wildfire. He then dropped the food he had brought with him and was about to share. But before it could do so, the ruler of the area came forward and told Superman that he didn't need to share the food, that he and his soldier will help Superman and do the sharing themselves. The ruler was a tyrant and Superman knew this. So he told the tyrant no, that he will share the food himself. Hearing this, the tyrant ordered his soldiers to point their guns at the civilians, threatening to kill every last one of them if Superman attempted to share the food to them. Calling their bluff, Superman threw the food towards the civilians. The soldiers started shooting. Immediately Superman flew and blocked all of their bullets, then melted their guns and left. He then went to another tyrannical countries that had warned him not to enter their airspace. But he did, and immediately a missile was launched at him. The missile contained a poison that destroyed the crops as it exploded. Superman, not wanting to escalate the situation, had to stop. He called his mission a failure as he wanted to make sure that everyone will have at least something to eat during the Christmas period, but at the end he couldn't. He couldn't find a way around some circumstances. He flew to space wondering how he could continue his mission, but this time in a much better way. He promised himself that he'll never give up on humans.